Hello, everyone. This is Andrew Berman. Welcome to another NMP webinar. We're bringing you a deal desk today. We are going to be focusing on our good friends over at TLS, formerly known and to many of you known as the Lone Star. We're going to focus on their Flex product. So if you're doing business with either business owners, gig workers, anyone who's self-employed, you are going to want to pay attention to this one. I got a bunch of questions that have already been loaded up, on the deck for this. But before we get started here, so you know how we roll. We're going to be a good steward of your time. I'm doing this right now, turning my phone to mute. Please turn your phones to mute. Shut down any browser tabs that you have open. Shut down Encompass, Calyx, LenderPad, whatever you got open. Just give us, another. We got 59 minutes of your time. I promise you, we're going to be of great value to you, giving you some insights how to use these programs. So without further ado, I'm going to just introduce my panel of experts here. So we got Tracy, Philip, and Adam over at the Lone Star. Thank you guys for joining us. We are excited to get into this. So just give me 1 second while I launch my deck. And what we're going to do first here, before we get started and going into your questions, I want to talk a little bit about TLS and talk a little bit about the product suite. So we're going to start off going into that, and then from there we're going to go into your questions. We'll go first all the questions that everyone submitted to us in advance. We'll go to those, and then if we have time, we're going to get to the questions you're going to ask live. So please use the question box to answer your questions, because if you ask those questions in the question box, if by chance we don't get to your question while we're doing this on this live here today, someone will get back to you shortly. And if you have any comments or anything like that, or just conversation, you can just hit us in the chat box there. So without further ado, folks, talk to us a little bit about TLS, and let's talk about the product.
You got it. Thanks, Andrew, and thanks for having us today. Glad to be here. This is our second deal desk one, and man, these are fun to do and fun to get in front of our partners and others to talk about what we do and what we do best. Let's go ahead and move to the next slide. Who is TLS? Who is the Lone Star? First off, we are the fastest growing wholesale lender in the non-QM space. I think the basis of that, where we're rooted in expertise, if you will, is with years of underwriting experience and experience with the non-QM product. We've got deep investor relationships. We've got over 10 different investors that we work with. But really what it comes down to is your experience in dealing with TLS. And it starts with the account executive who has a ton of experience with non-QM and with this product. It goes beyond that, and surely the backbone of what we do here is our long tenured underwriting team led by Tracy Hout, who's also on the webinar today. We have over 10 plus years experience. I mean, we were one of the first. This team was one of the first to do a non-QM securitization back at a previous lender almost 10 years ago. That same team we have here today at TLS, and building on that expertise and that experience to help you close more loans is really what it comes down to. That expertise helps drive exceptions because we've got a team that understands the investor, understands the program, understands what our investors are looking for. And as a result of that, we're seeing about 40% of our business, 40% of our non-QM business has exceptions on it. So I think we're going to spend some time going through some of these questions. You're going to see some of that coming out as we get into some of these questions. But this is definitely one product. Non-QM is one product that you don't want to be shy about. You don't want to be, timid about, asking for an exception. From a growth standpoint, again, I mentioned we're the fastest growing wholesale lender in the non-QM space. A lot of us came over from Home Point about 2 years ago and have really been able to, handpick underwriters, closers, account executives, basically the entire team to grow where we're at today. And, as a result, again, moving pretty quickly here in such a short period of time. Why brokers choose TLS? We are absolutely service obsessed. Our partners can speak with underwriters directly. They can work through those. I mentioned, exceptions. Really easy to talk through an exception when you can get the underwriter on the phone and walk through that scenario. Again, we're quick and responsive when it comes to having a great service experience. Diverse product line. We're not just known for non-QM. Majority of the volume we do is agency product. So we do a ton of agency product. We do non-QM, jumbo, HELOCs. We also have several unique products, unique to wholesale and unique to TLS, with buy before you sell, and we've got solar options available on FHA. And I'll put a plug in here too. We also, coming soon, we also have a couple of new innovative products that haven't been seen in wholesale in many, many years, hitting the street coming up. And Andrew, maybe we do another deal desk, when those new products come out. But definitely you'll want to stay tuned there. And then last but not least, technology. We've got very AI in some cases based underwriting for some of our agency products, but a modern portal that help you easily navigate. So next slide, Andrew. Today we're going to talk about our Flex Income Suite. And basically that it sounds like bank statements. We do a lot of bank statement loans, but what we want to do today is just make sure that you come away with understanding that it's not just about bank statements. We've got a P&L program. We've got a 1099 program. Asset depletion, asset utilization, restricted stock units, things like that. We've got a lot of different ways to qualify your borrowers to get deals done. You can see some of the parameters there, from bullet points there towards the bottom, but you can kind of get the gist of what we do there. Owner occ, second home, and investment, 30, 40, and interest-only products available. One last thing to point out before we get to your questions, and we turn it back over to Andrew, is from a pricing standpoint. Pricing, you're going to find us, not just with our Flex Income and our bank statement programs, but you're also going to find our our DSCR programs at the top of the pricing runs, and Loan Sifter and Arrive and some of the other pricing engines that you see. So we're very competitively priced. We've got the service and the experience to back it up, and we've got a ton of good products here that we look forward to helping you and your borrowers get into that next home. So Andrew, I'll turn it back over to you. And I guess before I do, Adam, Tracy, anything to add that I may have missed from a TLS perspective?
Good to hear.
All right, Andrew, your show. Take it away.
And do we want to take bets on how many times we're going to say talk to an account executive? Because listen, one of the things that I've learned actually with with you guys, I mean, you guys are looking for excuses to say yes. Like, you're like, do whatever we can do, to kind of to help us say yes, talk to an account executive. And I guess it's exemplified by that. I think you said like 40% of your loans actually have exceptions.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I have the over under at 15, Andrew. So I think the over is the smart money.
Yeah,
Vegas,
I
I
think
think, is
so.
starting to carry our lines on these
Yeah, I'd
calls, which
take
is
the
good.
over on 15. I would
Yeah, yeah.
absolutely take the over on
Talk to your
15.
account executive. And if you don't have an account executive, sales at theloanstore.com. Any questions, anything? If you're just curious what the weather is like here in beautiful Austin, Texas, sales at theloanstore.com.
Fantastic. All right. Well, let's get into this. And here we go. Again, everyone, remember, ask your questions, hit the question box. We will get to every question. If we don't get to it live here, I promise someone will get to you shortly after this webinar. All right. So starting off, how do we overcome borrowers' recent mortgage rates?
I'm going to take this one, and in all reality, we need a 0 times 30 for the last 12 months. However, if there's one recent late, you can do a LOE, and if it's a good LOE, we can make an exception on that.
Is dog
Fantastic.
eating your payments an acceptable?
Absolutely, Adam. Absolutely.
Love that. Okay, if we see that LOE, I don't want to know where it came from, but
No, I mean, it has to be a make sense scenario, obviously, but I mean, there's many times that, the automatic payment withdrawal doesn't work, or something happens with a transfer, with a servicing transfer, things like that, that makes sense. We can definitely look at options there for you.
and not to
Fantastic.
beat a dead horse, but Tracy, you literally lead our underwriting team that makes these exceptions. So you're not speaking of ifs, perhaps, possiblies. You have real time hundreds and thousands of loans monthly at your disposal as you see these exceptions come through.
100%. Yes, they come through all the time, and we make a lot of them. Like I said,
Awesome.
if it makes sense,
Understood.
we know things happen.
Fantastic. All right. So next one, we get 80% LTV purchase for relocating a borrower, but they got a 634 score.
Yes, so this one is a little bit challenging. However, we can consider an exception. We do have a minimum 660 FICO. But with a relocating borrower, obviously that's a challenge. They need to find someplace to live. We can look at some of that stuff. It really depends on the credit score and their credit, what their credit report shows, why they have lates. But if you don't have any mortgage lates, that's probably a really good exception loan.
And it's probably worth mentioning for those of you coming out of the conventional space, if you haven't done a lot of non-QM versus the conventional, where you're maybe not going to put assets in, you're going to see if you can get an AUS with the least amount in the file. In non-QM, we want to see the borrower's entire picture. So don't be shy about showing additional assets. Don't be shy about showing their IRA, which you normally wouldn't include, right? We want to see that entire picture. That gives Tracy and her team the ability to really make a make sense decision, which is what we're going after, obviously, with all these exceptions.
Right. Good call out, Adam.
Sure.
Fantastic. So how does it work? How do we get to, where should I market to the ideal client? So let's talk a little bit about marketing. I know we have a lot of questions, a lot of scenarios to get to, but if you could just share, like, maybe one insight or one opportunity that most brokers have in their market today.
Just one? Wow. I'll jump in on this one, but the first one that I guess seems a little obvious, or if my audience is doing a lot of agency business, your fallout, right? You've got fallout, you've got jumbo deals. There are a ton of jumbo. You'd be surprised, and even though I mentioned jumbo earlier on one of our product suites that we do offer, pretty much any deal that would qualify a jumbo ends up getting a better rate in this program. Also competes with the banks out there. And so, in wholesale, it's always been a challenge on jumbo loans to compete with the banks, local banks out there to get that jumbo type business. We are competing with the banks with this type of product. So I would say kind of first piece would be look at your fallout, look at your, any of your jumbo loans that hit your desk. That would be the first part. The next part would be, and I know you just asked me for one, Andrew, but like investors. If you've got any investors that you work with, man, this product, DSCR product, it is one where you will be able to satisfy a lot of their needs, pick up a lot of different properties if it's if it's an investor that has continues to acquire new properties. But I would say those two right out of the gate would be the first ones that I would I would market to kind of get into this product.
Yeah, that's fair. I think my only response in addition to that would be just get out there. Whether it's your realtor, your builder, your clients, they should synonymously think of self-employed, investor, like fringe, anything not down the middle meat and potatoes as you're their person. If someone has a questionable income that is not, I make a W-2 of $50,000 every single year, no matter what, no income, no overtime, if it is outside of that box, I'm your guy. And if you drive that home with realtors and partners, let's be real, not a lot of people are asking for the hard deals. And spoiler alert, these actually aren't that hard. I think
Gotcha.
non-QM is an easier space than conventional. Have you seen the conventional guides? So if you're not synonymous in your market already with self-employed, investor, to Schultz's point, like that's where these live. And the deeper you go down those rabbit holes and with your realtors and your builders, like these are the folks that have the money. They know they have the money. No one's ever been able to lend to them for the most part. They don't even know they can borrow yet. That's the craziest thing, is you're waking them up even.
Yeah, they've all been conditioned to, oh, you know something, my tax returns have to say this, and
Exactly.
it all has to be boring income and show that same income for the last 2 years. So it is our opportunity to really kind of hit this. Now, you said something right there, like, you know, the about talking to maybe declines, people actually who you weren't able to help. Any other ideas for prospecting past clients?
Yeah, I would say, we just pick up where we left off there with where the loan's at, right? Go through your database, go through, if you've got an indicator in there that any of the folks you've served in the past were self-employed, I check in with them for sure, because again, I think the point of this is it's not your cookie cutter income. It doesn't have to fit the agency box, and anything outside of the agency box, typically will fall into this category. So,
Absolutely.
yeah,
fantastic. So, what if you're new? You don't have a past client database. You don't even actually have real estate agents that you're talking to. Any ideas that you have actually for a new MLO that's getting into this and wants to actually focus on business owners?
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked to a lot of folks. I'm actually sitting in a TLS meeting space right now where we hosted a bunch of brokers last week. Schultz was here, of course, and that's where we got these t-shirts, guys. So talk to your AE if you want some swag. No, actually don't. They don't have any. I'm just joking. Please do not. But talk to your AE about everything else. There was 2 towards the 15. All right. So what we figured out is just go do something. Just go do something. If you have an opportunity to go on Facebook or put anything out, just put something out. It doesn't have to be good. If it's your first time and you think, God, I'm going to suck, you probably are going to suck a little bit, but just get out there. No one's talking about this enough. Our book penetration, which remember, we can see 10,000 different broker shops. They all have about 5 or so on average brokers. We have a 50,000, LO sample size at any given moment. The penetration is really low when you consider how many self-employed and profit and loss and income depletion opportunities they are. Again, just remember, these borrowers don't even know they can transact most of the time. Andrew pointed it out. They've been conditioned for years, be like, well, you're self-employed, so hope you have cash, or bring your gold bullion over here. Like, they need to be woken up and told, hey, great news. If you show me $50,000 in and out of your business each and every month, you can go acquire $2, $3, $5 million worth of property. I'm not saying you should, but when's the last time somebody showed you an opportunity to transact? And I think you just get those gears and those wheels in motion.
No, it's great ideas there. So on to some scenarios and questions here. Do we have any prepayment penalties on refinances?
there are, and you also have the ability to buy them out. So you've got some options there.
Okay. And so for business owners, how many years do they have to be owning the business?
So typically it's 2 years. However, we do have an option for 12 months if we have 12 months of bank statements or 12 months of ownership. And then they have a 4-year history in the line of work. I would say we also could consider some exceptions. They don't have an additional 4-year history in the same line of work, but maybe they have 2 years. That would be something we could take a look at.
So that's a call an account executive, right? That's right. I'm just want to keep it score here, right?
Put one on the board.
Okay. Okay. So 653 FICO bank statements.
660 minimum, but I can probably assure you that you would get an exception at a 653 with no mortgage rates. And just a good letter of explanation with your submission and let us take a look at it.
That's a real life
All right.
underwriter, folks. We want that deal. Let's go.
Yeah.
Send that
Yeah,
one in.
just so you know, and I'm gonna reveal this. Like we did a Samurai MLO, which is two top non-QM originators a few months back. And they basically said like they said two tools that they had. One, I forget what the other, but the other one was Tracy and her team. Like, so you have a great resource with the TLS team over here. So self-employed for less than a year, what kind of options, obviously 11 months, we'll call an account executive, but if it's like, if it's 3 months, like where's the point where it shouldn't even be considered?
Probably under 10, 10, 11, we need a good history of a self-employment income. And we're looking for at least 12 months minimum with a history in the same line of work. I think we could probably look at 10 or 11, but probably 12 months.
Yeah, we've seen some really good deals come out when someone worked in the industry, right? Say you were an LO at a big call center and then you turn into a broker.
Yeah.
Every industry has a version of that. So really ask that second and third level of questions, just like we have all been taught back in the day. Hey, what did you do before? Okay, try to draw that line. Maybe they were on a general contractor's crew and now they're doing their own cement business and work. Like we really want to help tie these deals together. That doesn't mean we don't do things that make sense, but give us a reason, ask those questions, and present a full and compelling loan file to us. Whether that's an explanation, whether it's via email. Obviously, we don't want you spinning your wheels for a loan that's dead. We'll be the first to tell you you're working on something that needs to just go and die. But put together a really comprehensive picture and let Tracy and the team take a stab at it.
Fantastic.
We also have a scenario desk as well that can take a look at some of these scenarios that if you're not
Great
sure
point.
about it, you have a scenario option.
Yep, great point.
Probably a good time to jump in here too. That scenario desk can also work up the income calculation on your bank statements. So again, this is not just the bank statement program. Bank statements are a big part of it, but if you are concerned or need some help calculating that income on your bank statements, we can absolutely help you out there as well.
Okay.
That is done through the scenario desk as well.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. Well, sounds like you guys queued up for this question right here. So like, what if actually some of the income is coming from different places. So there's 1099. Potentially want to use an asset depletion. So can you use different actually? Because I know the flex product you say actually that you accept, but can you use it on the same loan? And how do you document that?
Well, we document each borrower as they are. So a 1099 borrower, we would document 1099. Asset depletion, we would document the assets for borrower 2. It's not an issue. You can combine the two. The only thing we can't do is if you need full tax returns to document something, obviously we can't do that with the borrower. If it's the same borrower, like borrower 1 and borrower 2 are on the same tax returns. Obviously, we don't want to see their full doc income and then try to do a bank statement loan for them. But in any other scenario, you can combine the income sources.
And can the one borrower have the multiple income source? Can the one borrower use their they got $500,000 in their 401k. They have actually 1099 income, and they also have on top of that they're a business owner and want to use a P&L. Is that possible?
Yes, absolutely. And they can do 3 business incomes too. So you could do like 3 different businesses through bank statements.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So you guys are really true to that word flex in the product name.
Absolutely. I-10 and
I
foreign nationals. Wow. I love foreign nationals, but we only do them on DSCR. Today we do not have a I-10 option. So we have to pass on those.
hearing today, we'll just stay tuned for the future.
That's right.
So I have a borrower who wants to go either bank statements or P&L, 20% down. DTI is a little high, 49%. Any programs for this case?
We do. All of our programs will allow you to go to 50%, and we do have one product that will go to 55.
Okay. Well, fantastic. All right.
And that,
So-
Andrew, that's a perfect like structure question, which is to say, a lot of LOs come to us and they're like, hey, I think this deal has daylight. I just don't know how it's got daylight, basically. Like, help me structure this thing. And that is part of what this entire non-QM nucleus that we've assembled does. Like, get it into our non-QM teams. We've got account specialists that work these deals. We've got Tracy's team of underwriters that only do non-QM. We've got income calc at scenario. Like, everybody speaks non-QM here. If you think you have a deal with daylight, let us help you put it together.
Okay. So,
Totally want to stress that the non-QM team only looks at non-QM files, right? So these guys look at non-QM deals day in, day out, and it is a completely separate team for our other agency products. So this is definitely want to point that out.
Fantastic. All right. Another point for talk to an account executive. So talk to us. How does bank statements differ from the 1099 from the P&L? And got to talk a little bit about where it might make sense to go one direction versus the other.
Yeah, so I mean, the bank statement is 12 or 24 months bank statements, personal or business. Obviously on personal ones, we do have a requirement to document the income as business income. So it really depends on what's coming in and out of the business, out of the personal accounts. 1099, and I should say we do have 50% expense factor standard across the board for bank statement loans. We can go lower, we can go down to 10% with a CPA letter. 1099 is definitely an option there to get a lower expense factor. We do 10% on those across the board. So if your borrower is 1099, whether he is 100% self-employed by his own business or he is getting paid like he's a commission employee, I think is mostly what we see on 1099. But he is 1099. We take a 10% expense factor and we document with year-to-date earnings verified to support the 1099. P&L is exactly what it says. We're going to take the bottom line number from the P&L. For those who, I think that we were kind of talking about this yesterday. What's a good option for a P&L borrower? Maybe something that has fluctuating income, right? Their income goes up and down. Now we do require the most recent 3 months of bank statements to support the year-to-date earnings and support the income source. But if you have income, definitely something you can do with that, and it's a good option for you there to do a P&L product.
Fantastic. And listen, I'm gonna drop in the chat an email address. So this email address, this is I'm gonna suggest everyone right now take this email address and hold on, let me drop it here. Okay. Take that and write that down, copy that. So in the chat, you should see that. That is your secret, kind of like, call it like a bat phone, secret number to get, instant access, to Tracy and her team and the non-QM experts at TLS. They'll kind of help you run these scenarios. So you might want to copy that email address, get that down. That's going to be super helpful. Whether you're starting or you're a little more advanced in this and just looking for the right direction. So what challenge does everyone face when trying to get non-QM verification letters from tax professionals?
We don't really see too many challenges outside of just not having a CPA. We have some options there on an exception basis, but we are looking for licensed certified CPAs. So we're looking for PTIN numbers, what is it? EIN, not EIN, ETIN, I think it is. Somebody that's documented on the IRS website. We're looking to validate all of that.
And goes without saying, if you need somebody on our team to reach out to that tax professional and help them understand, our ask, we're happy to do that as well. Again, to Schultz's point, we have an entire ecosystem built around getting these across the finish line. A lot of non-QM lenders will say yes until they say no. And we want our yeses and our vetting up front to be meaningful, right? That doesn't mean we do every deal, of course. Things happen, but really allow us to help you put these deals together, and we can chase down these docs to get you across the finish line.
All right. And by the way, I'm just going to make a comment here. I'm seeing a lot of I-10 questions coming in. We're not going to be able to get to a lot of the I-10 questions. I'm not I-10, DSCR questions coming in. Probably not going to get to the DSCR questions. We did a separate webinar on DSCR. If you use that email address, I'm assuming if they email an email address, will you guys be able to send them? So yeah, they'll send you the DSCR webinar we did, the DSCR done right. They basically looked and said, okay, this is the way DSCR should be done, and it worked out perfect. So I think you're going to want to get that. So next one, borrower used our service due to a CPA rejecting the lender's non-QM verification template. Now this is our tax client. I think that's
Very
more
powerful.
of a state. Yeah, it works there.
Awesome.
And that also answers, how do you get more loans, right? Now
That's right.
You refer them to your tax client. I'm sure they've got other tax clients that you could help. So
I bet, Schultz, I bet they know who's self-employed and who runs businesses even. It's amazing.
I bet they do. I bet they do. That's a good way to source some volume there.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah, and listen, and not for nothing, a lot of those tax clients, a lot of those tax preparers also have financial services that they're doing, and they'd love nothing more actually to find next to their borrowers or their clients the right loans, so they're not overpaying, and get the right strategy. So let's see. So tips or strategies how to structure these loans.
I think, this is something I'm pretty passionate about. You've heard me say it 3 times already. I promise we didn't, put this question in just so I could harp on it more, but I grew up in the Countrywide ecosystem. We were meant to really fully interview the client, pull credit, really understand their entire scenario. Do you have other people in the household? Do you have other sources of income? Like the traditional, I'm here as a consultant, I'm here as an educator, I'm here as someone who wants to understand your entire financial picture and then help you make a decision, if there is even one to make, right? I think really just having in-depth conversations, and I think that turn down, the slide before really illustrated it. Sometimes turn downs are the most powerful. Sometimes these folks, when they're self-employed, they do have that PTSD. I've been turned down 47 times. I'm tired of going through this nonsense. If you can relate and say, hey, I have loans specifically and programs specifically for self-employed people, a lot has changed. Even in the last year, guys, think of where we're at even as a lender. Our non-QM volume is just hockey sticking, and we still have really low penetration overall. So take the extra effort and time to really help your realtors, your builders, your investment consultants, help them truly understand that this is a different day and this is a different experience. And even if you have to turn them down, stuff evolves in this space overnight. A lot of you guys know Will Pendleton on our team, feverishly working in his mad science lab of creating loan programs straight with our investors. Tracy talks to our investors all the time. The exceptions we make, if they continue to add up in the same silo, those all of a sudden turn into guidance, right? So this is a very dynamic part of the industry right now.
Fantastic. All right, back to a scenario here. What would be the max LTV, lowest FICO if they were partially self-employed?
So that's kind of a trick question.
Yeah.
Our max LTV on the product is 90%. Our lowest FICO is 660. Obviously 660 is not going to go to 90%. So 660 max would be 80%. 740 I'm sorry, not 740, 700 for a 90% LTV. Partial self-employed, I'm not really sure what that means, but hopefully that will help.
And
I would say
I'm assuming we're gonna mix income sources, which is fine on anything.
Yeah, and I would say on these scenarios, again, for the 5th time to beat a dead horse, really put together a full, complete look for us. I don't want to waste your time on anything. I don't want to waste Tracy's time. Tracy doesn't want to waste her time or her team's time. A little more info, fire this baby over to your AE, to sales at the loan store, to any of us on the panel, and we'll ask a couple questions and get you a yay or a nay.
Yeah.
So, and just like a scenario, let's say they're W-2 worker, they make same money every year about, but they also Uber driver on the
Yeah.
weekends, you know, like something like that. I'm assuming,
Yep.
but there's okay. By the way, I think I'm hearing talk to an account executive on that one. I'm just gonna. It's,
Okay. Yep.
Yep.
Put one up.
okay. Do any programs allow significant mortgage late if the score is still okay to proceed?
Significant mortgage rates we're probably not gonna allow. I mean, I'm assuming it's significant. We're not just talking one or two.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Fantastic. All right. Any suggestions how to compete with or work with home builders like DR Horton, who in most cases don't have access to programs like this?
Man, I think the builder space is so ripe for the broker world. Builders don't even know what they're missing, right? They have a captive lender. Maybe, I mean, the obvious answer is whatever that lender can't convert, but really sitting down and helping, hopefully more of a localized approach. I'm like, hey guys, we've got opportunities to put people in your homes that you are not getting. And they're not even coming to your properties because they've probably, again, Andrew, to your point, they've probably been told no. Like if I'm a DR Horton community, especially in certain locales, and I have a self-employed, guru broker on my side, I'm putting out creative. Maybe I want to co-brand with them. They're simply not getting that client right now. And I think helping the builder understand that this is an entire slice of the pie that does not listen to you, doesn't care, maybe loves your houses even, drives by them every day. They're like, I've been told no, I think that's huge. I think that's where I would start.
And well, sure, they'd love to get the mortgage, like,
Yeah.
if it's possible. However, they don't care about actually as much as getting the home sold. That is the number one thing, is getting that home sold is what DR Horton cares about most.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, next thing here. Are there any programs available for borrowers with less than 2 years from Chapter 7 BK?
We could do our minimum for exception purposes is 2 years. We look at 3 to 4, depending on the product suite. But we will consider some exceptions if you're close to that mark and there's a really good explanation.
Okay, fantastic. Oh, I'm gonna put that down. We'll talk to an account executive. Qualifying a client who is taking a loan as a part of down payment against a family trust. Is that gonna work?
Probably it depends on, we'd have to see the trust agreement to really determine, but I don't think it's out of the question, and maybe we can consider it gift funds. If not, we can do exceptions to allow gift funds on, in excess of what we allow. So I definitely would not turn that down. Definitely bring that in because that's something we could probably work with.
All right. Fantastic. All right. So does a deal desk review count as a TBD underwrite on the flex income product?
Not necessarily, because we're not looking at the whole picture for an underwrite. The income review is specific to the bank statements. We run it through a calculation and give you an income. Now, again, they're not doing a deep dive into all of the transactions that'll happen in underwriting, but you can get a good number there and have something to work with. And of course, you can always ask questions if there's questions about some of the things they have in the calculations. They're happy to send you the calculation if you want it, like the full breakdown of what's included and what's not. We can do all that for you.
And I would say too, just something to keep in mind, right? If you're just sending over the bank statements to the scenario desk, we're going to run the calculation just on the bank statements, right? We don't have the whole picture. Adam has kind of that horse is dead, man. We need the whole picture. And so you send over bank statements and, we don't have the whole picture. And then you submit the file, we get the whole picture. And then, again, sooner we have the whole picture, the better decision we can make, right? And the smoother it's going to go from a service experience standpoint, in regards
and
to
highly
that.
recommended giving that information up front when you're submitting the full file too. Give us all the things we need to know.
Yeah. It
You
is
know,
not
they'll-
conventional. In conventional, you hold your cards and get your skinniest AUS. Here we want to see the warts and the strengths and everything. Got to show us the whole deck.
That's right.
Fantastic. So the thicker files win.
That's right.
All right. Fantastic. So the pricing difference between 1099 and bank statements income, how about combining those income, how does that affect pricing, combining those income and 10-month versus, 12-month versus 24-month? How does that impact pricing?
It does impact pricing, and I would say, again, not that we're trying to get to the 15 over, but that would be a good, let's get that specific scenario to your account executive. Let's run different pricing scenarios in our portal and see which one fits the best, from a pricing. But there are differences between 12 and 24, certainly on 1099s as well. But again, good one to reach out to your account executive for.
Okay, so what exceptions on loan size are available and investor interest? I'm not sure if I understand that one, but
we
maybe
so we
some
go to
will.
4 million already. Obviously you have to meet the matrix requirements per guidelines. We can consider some above. I wouldn't say probably, the loan amount. I mean, 4.5 million, maybe 5. It's something to reach out to your account executive about. I'm going to do it now. Because while we can consider it, it really depends on the scenario and LTV and all of the traits of the loan.
Fantastic. All right.
Yeah.
Next one here, I got a nice
Oops.
scenario here.
Set up.
5.5 purchase, 75% financing at 4.125. 12-month bank statement, 30% LTV, 764 FICO.
Dude, I'll write that deal, Tracy, if you know.
Yeah, so you're at 4 million, 70% max. Obviously, we can seek exceptions. The FICO sounds good, the DTI sounds good. We'll want to take a look at the property and all of the compensating factors. So, good reserves we would want to see, but would be at 70% max 4 million.
Yeah.
But again, take it to your account executive, see what options we have available.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not a condo-tel that's thinking in Miami Beach. Other than that, we're probably okay.
Ooh. All right, let's continue here. Do you have to have an NMLS license to be approved to do business for the business purpose stuff, or I guess the DSCR? I know we said we're not going to talk about it, but like I think it's a cool thing, as people are considering how to market themselves for this, and obviously with the DSCR stuff, you can go anywhere, right? You don't have to be NMLS licensed in most states. By the way, on your website, do you have a list of the states where it's available? Okay, so I'm going to drop in the loanstore.com, and I just dropped it in chat. Everyone, you might want to head over to the chat box, copy that, because actually it's not just about the list of where you can do NMLS, where you can do DSCR loans where you don't need a license, but like they have a ton of customizable like marketing pieces that they've already prepared. You drop your own stuff in there. All the non-QM programs we're talking about here today. So like I believe there's an entire marketing hub. Do you have to be TLS approved to be able to get access to that stuff?
Yes, and good time to reach out to your account executive for the access to the marketing hub, and we can do that there. And what are we at now? We've got to be at least 13 or 14, Andrew.
We're 12. I get 12 right now. So
hey, and really circle back on this question here. We are going down the path, right? So on the business purpose loans that we do both in this program and DSCR, we are going down the path where you don't have to be NMLS licensed. Today, only today, but today you have to have an NMLS license. However, there are a good handful, and I'm totally shooting from the hip here, but I want to say there's probably close to 30 states that you don't have to be licensed in that state. You just have to be NMLS licensed with us, but you don't have to be licensed in that state to do a business purpose loan or one of these loans. So again, we are going down that path on business purpose to not have an NMLS license, but and we're getting close, but not currently today.
Fantastic. All right. Purchase triplex investment, 772 score, first time home buyer, first time investor, self-employed, 5 years, 300K liquid, 20,000 average deposits over 24 months.
Sounds like a deal.
At the right price, that's a deal.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on your LTV, but definitely, I mean, it's going to qualify for the top number. We do allow first-time home buyer and first-time investor on bank statements.
Yep.
We can also do it on DSCR in certain instances if it makes sense. But this sounds like a good deal to send over to your account executive. Take a look at it.
Fantastic. All right. So what about a physician that was in residency and just they opened up their S Corp in June of 2024?
Send it over. We're almost at the year mark to make that requirement, make that exception. So if we aren't going to hit it before closing, we can look at an exception. I think this is definitely the scenario we would want to look at that.
Yeah, that's a perfect example of what we've been talking about. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. And I don't know if you guys want to talk about rates on here or just going to give some insights of, like what the option looks like for interest only 40 years. But first off, do you offer interest only on a 40-year amortization?
We do.
Okay, perfect.
And I would say again, we don't have any of the other parameters for the loan file. So I given a price on this on what we have just with IO 40-year IO would be just like shooting in the dark. So ask your account executive.
I think you'd be shocked at how well priced non-QM is, especially in relation to jumbo and why so many jumbo deals get flipped. You'd be really surprised. And again, a lot of these folks can't transact. So you're not competing against the newspaper rate, right? We've all faced rate objections for 10, 20, 30 years of our careers. This is usually the difference between someone being able to transact and somebody not. And the price is so close, it'll shock you. I think you'll be surprised, guys, if you've never priced these products before.
Another call out on Friday, we released a guideline update. When we did the DSCR call, we were calculating off fully amortized payments. We have updated our guidelines to allow using the interest only payment for qualifying and to calculate reserves.
Yeah, that's freaking huge, Tracy.
Huge.
That's freaking huge. You guys did that. So, I mean, for those of you who don't have big investment portfolios, right, your borrower's ability to transact, i.e. even purchase more, just exponentially improved. The difference between qualifying on PITI versus IO, that could give someone an extra property or two that they literally didn't even know they could go get. That has wide-ranging appeal to folks who are trying to accumulate portfolios. So that's a great sales opportunity as well with your realtor base.
Awesome. Fantastic. Okay, so can a borrower qualify with no current employment based on projected rental income? So I know this is a DSCR question, but is that possible?
Absolutely. DSCR is not going to ask about any income source, and you do not need to put it on your 1003.
Yep.
Fantastic.
And I can call out too on the asset utilization. If you have a borrower with assets, they do not have to be employed on the flex product. Asset utilization does not have a DTI. Asset utilization does not have a DTI. It's based on the true assets, the total assets that they actually have.
Fantastic.
So they don't have to be employed on that either.
All right, so refinance as a single family owner occupied, credit score 750, P&L or 12 months bank statement, no income verification program.
Owner occupied, so you need to be on the flex product. We're not going to do a no income verification outside of asset utilization. You could do P&L or 12-month bank statements. So either one of those would work depending on your, I mean, obviously 750 you're going to qualify for 90%. So yes, I mean, this sounds like a deal.
The start of one. It's a baby deal. It needs more nourishment to grow up. So I would, dare I say, talk to your account executive
Yes.
for more, put it
Yes.
on the board. Andrew,
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
there's a question in the chat restating about qualifying for the IO. So
Thanks.
keep in mind, guys, the IO product, even though it was an IO payment, you had to qualify on the PITI. So in essence, it didn't open up any room for the borrower. By virtue of qualifying on the interest-only payment, it drives down the overall debt ratio, which could allow them to purchase additionally, right? So right now, they're probably even thinking, even if they know about an IO, which most people don't, that they can't transact because they're hitting their head maybe on DTI. Again, this isn't every deal, but this is the kind of stuff you can talk to a realtor or a partner about. And you're like, hey, instead of bringing you stupid bagels, which everybody hates bagels, right? Everybody, literally every single person hates bagels. Nobody likes bagels. I'm sorry, Andrew. Literally nobody does. I'm sorry.
I'm from New York. I mean,
I know
we
you are.
love bagels
That's why
here. So
that's
come
why
on.
I'm really harping on this. I want you to understand that no one likes bagels. But if you drop this little tidbit, maybe it doesn't even resonate with the realtor right away, kind of like the question did. So it's a great question because we're kind of having trouble conceptualizing it at times. Imagine if you don't do this every day. And I know realtors do know truly everything about mortgages, but maybe we help educate them a little bit, you know? So get out there and don't be shy.
And you do loans like this all the time, you could afford the bagel with locks, you know. So just put that out
The
there.
bagel
Big
upgrade.
spender. Big spender.
All right, so so bank statements, you know, for a low score. I know we've already talked that, you know, not to beat a dead horse, but you know, it's just got like the lowest score that you've been, and I believe actually Tracy, you already said it, but maybe just come back to that one more time for self-employed
660
borrowers.
per bank statement loan, 660 is our minimum. I think we would consider anything down to 620 with a good letter of explanation and no mortgage lates.
Okay. So what need to include a W-2 plus self-employed Schedule C as part of a 2-year average. Client in 2023 worked W-2 and 1099 with the same line of field.
That sounds like something we could do. Obviously we probably need an exception of some sort, but maybe not. It really just depends on the income and how they are claiming it on their returns. Because I'm assuming we're going full doc.
That sounds like a talk to account executive. We are up to 15. So
Yeah,
whoever
and we
had
do
the
have just to call out, we do have, while we have a full doc option in our Flex Suite, it's 1 year or 2 years. So you can look at 1 year options for this as well.
Fantastic. And listen, just by a show of hands, everyone put your hand up if you've already thought of a client that this program will apply to. So just you know, show your show of hands at the little show of hand raise hand thing. Just curious how many people have had this. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Let's see, that's great. Already up to 5, 6, 7. That's going off. Good to see that.
Andrew, I actually had a partner put their own realtor. The realtor themselves got a product through the NQM suite. They didn't know they could transact. So dare I say, as another source of marketing, your own realtors may not even know what they can purchase. They could go buy that house that they just put on the market that they didn't think they could transact on. So maybe educating your realtors first could be an interesting step.
And spin it another way, ask your realtors like how many other brokers, loan officers they're dealing with that have their turn downs. Why did they get turned down? To Andrew's point, driving this home, there are a ton of people that are sitting on the sidelines waiting for 2 full years of self-employed income. And man, that's like, get them off the sidelines. This is an opportunity to get them off the sidelines and transact. So,
yeah.
I remember literally myself telling people on the phone at Countrywide that they needed to either pay taxes or qualify for a mortgage. You couldn't have both. And remember, that was Cisa and Nina days, right? So can you imagine how many people, how many business owners, my own friends, family, parents, they think they literally can't transact? It's wild. You have to wake them up. You know, in Shark Tank, they always say, I don't want to be involved in a business where you have to educate the client. Too bad. We're already educating the client all the time. Educate your realtors, educate your builders, educate your barber. Your barber probably can qualify for a shocking amount of house. Not saying they should. Let's be responsible as an industry. But you'd be surprised once this kind of clicks with people, they're like, holy crap.
All right, so next scenario here. So we got owner occupied, a business owner at that location for 26 years, needs a new first for 1.4 million, 50% LTV. So this sounds like I think actually you're talking about either a mixed use or a commercial. So any insights on this?
Well, I'm assuming it says owner occupied, so that tells me they're not gonna, I mean, the occupancy is primary occupancy, this would be fine. We actually could do up to 1.5 million at 90%. With 26 years, you definitely would have 1 or 2 years bank statements in the restaurant. So as long as it qualifies for income. If you're talking mixed use, we do have a mixed use product on our DSCR line. So I would recommend talking to your account executive about that.
Okay. And I mean, I'm just out of curiosity, if stuff falls out, like if you have any kind of like, like, so we're talking about non-QM stuff, is there any kind of like hard money options, for like, I guess for investors, things that just might have a little more hair on them?
Yeah, absolutely. We actually have a wholly owned subsidiary of TLS that is a hard money lender. And they really specialize in exactly that. It's kind of that next step, right? There's a lot of opportunity to transact in that space. A lot of folks haven't. If you're an LO and you've never done it, shockingly enough, it's even easier than non-QM. Don't be scared of it. Again, we have an entire team that's all they do. You know, it's funny how we build these specialists to support you, right? And so you could possibly never have done a non-QM loan before. Don't hesitate. There's no such thing as a stupid question. Like, help you understand this. And absolutely, we're looking for the value of the property at that point. Pretty much nothing else matters. We want to understand what's its value, what's its current state, what's its proposed value, or after rehab, or after repair value, right? ARV. So a lot of people look at that, and it's a very simple calculation. Again, it's kind of a quick yes or no. Hey, this deal has daylight. Hey, you're wasting your time on this. Go get another at bat. We'll help you with that.
Fantastic. All right, we've got the last 3 minutes here. What about seasonal income? Sorry.
Seasonal income, we can definitely do it. We really need to see trends, and it needs to make sense, obviously, for someone that does lawn care in the Midwest where I am would make sense. It would make it be a make sense deal. And it always helps if you do 24 months there so we can see the seasonal trend across the board. 12 months gets a little hairy. Because maybe we can't really see it if it's December in the Midwest, we're not going to see that trend probably. But if you have 2 years of income, that's an option for you. I think it's just maybe that's one for the scenario desk to run your income and see where you're at.
Okay, fantastic. Well, this concludes our all the questions that people have asked in advance. So without further ado, we're going to go to our question box here. So can we use bank statements plus K1 income? That's something you guys can do?
It really depends on if it's the same business. If it's the same business, no. Or if it's a spouse that they would need to show tax returns that the bank statement income is coming from, that's a no as well. But outside of it, if you're talking like maybe you have married borrowers who file separately, that might be an option to do one as a bank statement, one as a full doc. But you really need to be careful about making sure we're not seeing any income on tax returns from a bank statement loan, from the bank statement portion of the income.
Interesting. So just don't send any incomes, any tax documents is pretty much right.
Right, unless it's totally a separate borrower with separate filed tax returns.
Yeah. Okay. Fantastic. All right. Next question here. Hold on for a second. Just lost my question and answer window. Okay, there we go. All right. So foreign nationals, no dice. New MLO. So and again, go check out that website. You'll be able to get all you need to do to get started in terms of marketing. So default expense ratio for bank statements, I believe you said 50%.
We can do lower, but we need a CPA letter to validate the lower expense factor. But we're 50% across the board, and there's nothing required for, as far as from your CPA or for that to use that.
Okay, fantastic. And we're going to ask one more question here, and then, okay, a lot of people asking for their reps information. And I think that's it. So listen, just one other thing. This is a DSCR question. I'm curious about this. Do you use lease agreements or market rents or appraisal for the DSCR?
Yes, lower of the two, depending on the scenario. We're going to use lower of the two. You can get exceptions if it's certain situations. We do require the lease if it's tenant occupied.
Okay, fantastic. All right, everyone, go to thelonestar.com. If you haven't already gone there, if you haven't already checked it out, you got a lot of resources over there. Talk to an account executive, get help here. So we actually hit 15. Like, Adam, very, very impressive.
I feel like Vegas has some questions about how we got there, but I think it'll pay out. I think it pays out still.
Fantastic. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. Adam, Tracy, Philip, really, really appreciate you guys taking the time to share your insights. And thank you, everyone, for the questions you submitted to help us get to the bottom. And congratulations, I think it seemed like about 8 people or so already found ways to help their borrowers out with the things they learned here. Thank you, everyone. You have a great rest of the month, and we'll see you on the next one.
Go get some loans. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks.
Thanks, everybody.